Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I would try to address a question which has been repeatedly asked in the comment sections, and despite answering it on multiple occasions, I feel that there is a need to explain this better. And the question is that whenever you are doing click counting mechanisms for your Mounjaro Kwikpen devices to spread the cost of your pens, where do you start the click counting? Is it from the point 0 or is it actually from the first mark after the point 0? The answer to this question is that both options are correct, and I will explain why and how and which option suits you best. Now remember, whenever I try to initiate my patients on any weight loss medications, I categorize them into three different categories. The first category is the rapid responders or the fast responders, which we usually find out immediately after the response, and these are the patients who are responding very well. They have side effects sometimes, and they actually do very well on low dosages. The other category is the slow responders. These patients usually take some time before you see any clinically beneficial or clinically significant response for their weight loss. And the last category that used to be called the non-responders, I actually categorize them as very slow responders, and these are the ones who are actually requiring dose escalations to reach the maximum dosages over time, and they are the ones who may be responding extremely slowly. So rather than telling them that you are non-responders, I normally use the term very slow responders, but because eventually everyone responds to some degree. Now, depending on the dose that you are using, remember Mounjaro pen devices come in different strengths, starting from 2.5 to 5 milligrams to 7.5 milligrams, and then 10 milligrams, 12.5 and 15 milligrams. Now, for the rapid responders or people who respond very well, I try to preserve the dosages and keep them on the low dosages, which are either 2.5 or the 5 milligrams. For those who are very slow responders, are likely to be responding over a long period of time very slowly, for them I reserve the high dosages, which are actually 10 milligrams, 12.5 milligrams and 15 milligrams. There's a dose in the middle which is 7.5 milligrams, which is a medium dose, and I try to juggle around where should this fit. Now, if you are a rapid responder and you are responding very well to the low doses, it's best to stay on the low dose. And for the low dose responders, I usually use 2.5 and 5 milligram Mounjaro and try to spread the cost by using the 7.5 milligram pen device or lower, and this way you actually are able to finish the pen within 3 months. If, for example, you're using the 2.5 milligram dose through a 7.5 milligram pen device, you are likely to finish your pen in the correct frame of time, as opposed to staying on the same pen device for 6 months if you're using a 15 milligram pen device, because the credibility of the peptide molecule's efficacy remains questionable. Now remember, this is off-label and not the recommended way of using it, but we have used insulin pens before and also used Ozempic pens during the COVID times with good efficacy, and people have seen the results, as well as no safety concerns have been raised so far. If you are on a higher dose, which means that you are either responsive to 10 milligrams or 12.5 milligrams, then you may perhaps use the 15 milligram pen device to do the click counting mechanism. Where should you start the click count? You can actually start the click count from point 0 or from the first mark, depending on your dosages. Now remember that the first click after the 0 mark is meant to be used for priming the needle. It means that when you use the first click, it actually delivers only a few drops of medications to fill in the lumen of the needle of the pen device, and this is called priming of the needle, to ensure that the pen is working and the needle lumen is filled up. And usually you see a few drops coming out. Now, if those few drops are being used from a 15 milligram pen device, they can be quite significant. For example, if someone is planning to take a 2.5 milligram dose from a 15 milligram pen device, the few drops that come with a priming click can make a significant difference. So I would prefer to start counting from 0 if you are taking a low dose from a high strength pen device, because the small volume might contain a dose which is quite significant. However, if you are on a higher dose, for example, you take 10 milligram or 12.5 milligrams and you're using a 15 milligram pen device, in that case, even if you are counting after the priming click, you're not going to see a significant difference in the dose by those few drops that are being administered to you. So perhaps it's best to not underestimate the dose but slightly overestimate in this scenario, because you are already non-responder or slow responder or extremely slow responder. So I would not waste those few drops. Therefore, in order to avoid the confusion, if you are actually choosing the correct pen device to start your click counting, you might avoid this problem. Because for the 15 milligram pen device, the best suited doses would be either the high dose 10 milligram or 12.5 milligram. Whereas for the lower dosages of 2.5 and 5 milligram, it's best to use the 7.5 milligram pen device. In this case, you can actually start the click count from the mark after the 0.0 to slightly overestimate the dose, because you're doing the click counts. These are only estimates of the dose. They're not the exact dosages that you would be getting. However, they closely match what you should be expecting to have. I hope that kind of clarifies where to start the click count for your Mounjaro Kwikpen device.